So you mentioned Roblox. What is would you mind sharing a more foundational investment that you do for the kids?
Yeah, so foundationally, what I've done with my kids is they're all invested in index funds. So if you don't know what an index fund is, it's basically you're instead of focusing on buying like one stock or multiple stocks, you are buying essentially a basket of the stocks. So all of my kids have index funds that track the S&P 500, the largest 500 companies on the U.S. stock market. And I have each of them in an index fund, and then I've allowed them to pick one company, an individual company, for them to invest in, something that they are familiar with. And I did that simply because I wanted them to associate, like, the iPhone. My daughter, that was what she chose because she has an iPhone, and
Apple.
she was 13 at the time.
Yeah.
But I teach it to them in the way of, you now have ownership, a part ownership in this company by investing
Yeah.
in this company.
Yes.
And just like if you purchased an index fund that tracks the S&P 500, now you have part ownership in small percentages in all of these companies in one basket. And all you have to do is buy that one index fund and you get access to all of these companies. And so that's really the foundational that I do for myself as well as my kids. Is the basis is index fund. The majority of their money is in an index fund.
Okay. Are you referring to FXAIX?
Yes, I am. So I have FXAIX as well as my kids as well. So
Okay. If you didn't know, that's one of my favorite investments.
I love
Let
it.
me. So I wanted to share. Yeah, my daughter. I do 80% into funds for her,
Yeah.
and Apple stock is one of her individual stocks. 10% is going into Apple stock, and then but she didn't choose her. She didn't choose her individual stocks. I gave her the option like you did. But yeah, she wasn't feeling it. She wasn't coming. I thought that she would come up with something, even if it was McDonald's, Starbucks. I
Yeah.
thought she was gonna. She didn't come up with anything, so I chose. And I often use that example of she has an iPhone, like many of our kids, teens
Yeah.
do. But just like you're doing over at your house, you got to pay that iPhone bill.
Yeah.
You have to purchase new iPhones at times, or at least the one that they got started out with.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, what else are we doing?
Mhm.
They're invested into Apple stock.
Thriving Go with Glow says her son chose Nvidia because he saw their sticker on his laptop. That's
Oh,
awesome. Yeah. I love Nvidia too. So that's one of mine. So I love Nvidia.
yes. Who wouldn't love Nvidia? If we Nvidia and Bitcoin, if we only would have known. Okay, just off the top of your head, is it Nvidia? What is one of the best performing investments that you've made in your personal portfolio?
It actually is Nvidia. And the funny thing is, I actually did not start investing into Nvidia until I was laid off of my job. So that was what, 2023? But the growth in my
It,
portfolio since then, and the crazy thing is, I took my 401k and rolled it over into a rollover IRA with
Mhm,
Fidelity.
mhm.
And so I did have some after tax stocks that was in a Roth 401k. And so basically that cash, when they transferred over, it was just cash sitting in
That you
Fidelity.
needed
So
to get
yeah.
reinvested. Mhm.
And so I said, well, let me go ahead and invest this. So I took a good portion and put it into Nvidia, and then put the rest of it into the index fund. And then that was, I let it, and I left it. I didn't add any additional contributions in there. And that portfolio grew, I want to say from, it was like 89,000, I think, when I went in there. Like right now it's sitting at 140,000.
Nice.
And by me not putting anything in there, just the
Mhm.
growth. And so when I say, and it wasn't, and when I invested in Nvidia and I just put it in there, I've actually not been adding anything to it. And so that growth like really just kind of like blew it up for me. So I would say Nvidia. Next to that would be Apple, because I've been investing in Apple for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so the return on Apple is like through the roof. But yeah, Nvidia would be the one for me.
Yes. Neither one of those have disappointed. I started
Yeah.
investing into Nvidia at the beginning of 2024, before the stock
Mhm.
split. and I was dollar cost averaging. I was taking it slow. I wish I didn't take it slow because it was like 500, 600. Uh, it was just like I couldn't find, I could barely find, it wasn't coming down. There was no time for me
Mm,
yeah, it just really took off. I didn't stop. I think that's what people do. They think they hear all-time highs, or they think, oh,
yeah.
this one is what I am actually currently going into, tomorrow is going to be week 2.
Mhm.
The start of week 2 for me. I'm doing $10 a day into
Oh,
Nvidia,
nice.
guys. So you'll be seeing an update on the results of this particular challenge that I am leading right now.
So that money is sitting there and it's growing, and I'll literally just say to myself, like, just leave it alone. Just let it do its thing. You don't need it anytime soon. So
Mhm.
I just let it be. But I recently started just dollar cost averaging, putting money in there because I'm like, all right, this thing is going. So let me just go ahead and spread it out amongst my index funds, Nvidia. I think in that one I don't have Apple in there, but yeah, just let it be. Just like with my kids, same thing. We consistently every month just put money in there and just let it do its thing because they're not going to use it anytime soon.
Mhm.
And the benefit for, at least for my oldest daughter too, that's one of the things that I would say I'm very proud of, because we actually did not start investing for my daughter until 2013, the oldest one.
Mhm.
She had all her money in the savings account. And by that time I had like started getting into investing. I was like, well, let me go ahead and put her money into some index funds. And that's what helped pay for a little bit of her school for the first semester as well, while she's like applying to scholarships. So like I'm very grateful for just even making that step, and it's only been 5 years, and just the growth that she's had to be able to support her. So
Yeah, I got started later. I would say my daughter was probably like 10, 11.
same, yeah.
But I love that. I want that that's one message I'd like to continue to share, is that, yeah, you have a child, you got that social security number. Uh, you get that pretty quickly after they're born. You can set up that account.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't, we don't need to be waiting. We can set it up, and at the same time, throughout the year, we find money for those game systems, and all the things year after year, the birthday parties, the sweet 16, the this, that, and the other, the proms. And I'm not saying anything against that. I do those things too, but I don't do that, just that. Put some money towards investing. Put some money into savings. Like my daughter, she's ready to get her license and driving her own car, and that
Mhm.
we're gonna have more repairs and need gas all the time, and all of these different things. So yes, there has to always be a balance with saving and investing, because I don't want her to be, as another thing I want to instill in her, and I want our investments to stay invested and grow, and
Mhm.
that's not our emergency fund.